Hey folks, it's Teresa, Stringfield Ridge Farm. We are gonna do another foraging video. This time it is pine needles. And so we have used our pine needles occasionally for a tea, a hot tea in the late fall and winter for helping with coughs and colds. And so that's the main thing that we have used it for. There's so many other things and so many benefits that we are fixing to show you. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that Joyce at Morris Patch of Heaven has just done a video on this also. So if you want more information over there, go check out Morris Patch of Heaven. And she just done a video on pine needle tea and the benefits. So check that out. I'm going to go over with you some of the benefits and things too. So it's loaded in vitamin C and anti-inflammatory, antiviral properties. So this is most any pine. Also, Douglas fir is a great one. Junipers are beneficial. You can do the same thing. You can make a tea or a tincture, or you can even, Joyce at Morris Patch of Heaven talked about a chest rub that she made with pine. And that's pretty awesome. I haven't tried that. I'm going to try that. She's going to put up a video on that soon, I believe. So check that out. And meantime, I'm going to tell you a few things that I know about pine. And so one of the best pines to use is the white pine. It has 5 needles per bundle. Now let me show you what I mean by 5 needles per bundle. Our pine tree, we have 2 here on our property, and they are a yellow pine. They have 3 needles. So let me show you what I'm talking about there. So here where we're at in far western Kentucky, we don't have a lot of pine. We don't have a lot of different kinds of pine. And so one of the ones that we have here, and we know this by the bark. The bark is a scaly, red-looking bark. And the needles, now here are the needles. We have very long needles here on ours. And this is a bundle. You break that off of the tree and look and see what you have. We have 3 needles per bundle. That has told us that, and the looking at the bark, no pine cones presently on this tree. It has had a few before, but it is a young tree and it doesn't have a whole lot, and I don't see any this year yet. So it is a yellow pine. And so now also there are a few kinds of evergreen trees that you do not want to use, and one of those is a yew, which is not actually a pine or anything. It is an evergreen, but it is not in the pine family, and it is a yew tree. And I will show a picture of that. And then also there is one pine that is called a Norfolk Island pine that you're not supposed to use. These have toxins in them, and I'll show a picture of that one. Also, the Colorado pine, which is very similar to the yellow pine. Some people call it a yellow pine. From what I'm understanding, the Colorado pine is very similar to the yellow pine, but and they say not to eat it, not to use it, but the only problem with it is that some people do use it. It has some properties that can cause problems with women that are pregnant or nursing, and it's not good for infants and even unborn infants. So you're not supposed to use the Colorado pine when you are nursing or pregnant or anything. Now, that is the kind of pine we have here on our property. Is called a yellow pine, and has the 3 needles. There are also pines that have 2 needles, the 3 needles, no, 4 needles and 5 needles, on up to 5 needles. The white pine is one of the best to use, has 5 needles. So there you go. You can look and see which kind you have. If you have the 5 needle bundle, you're doing great. And you have a white pine and can use that. And it is one of the best ones to use. Also, junipers are great. And Douglas fir. So there's lots of different ones you can use and only a few that you can't use. So positively identify and see what you have. We'll take some of these and go inside and make some tea with it. And then we'll talk some more about the benefits. So there you go.
Okay, guys, we're going to end up incorporating this into the pine needle video here. These are sweet gumballs. I'm sure most people are familiar with them. When you harvest these, you probably just need to get a actual garden rake like this and reach up in the tree and go on ahead and pull them down while they're still green like this, right before they start going to seed. You do not want them like this. Them there's from last year, they already seeded out and they're no good. You want the green ones. I do have a video just on the sweet gumballs for medicinal purpose. They have I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. It's like a shikirmic acid, something like that. It is the same acid that they derive the main ingredient for Tamiflu from a plant that grows in China. And in my video, I tell about where there was a shortage of them one year, and they started using the sweet gumballs for that, because that acid is in the seeds, the same as in the pine needles. So anyhow, that there is what you want to look for. I will cut one open real fast and show you what you need to look for when you cut it open. Okay, as you can see, there's all kinds of little seeds in there. They're just now starting to get their, I don't know how well you can see it, but they are starting to finally get their little wings out here, getting ready to open up and fly out. That is the best time to collect them, is when they're like that. That's when they have the highest concentration of the acid in them seeds. Normally I just stick them in a cloth and beat them with a hammer to kind of open them up some, and then soak them in alcohol to make the tincture. And that's pretty much all that you got to do with them. I think these here have to set for 60 days. But like I said, you can go and look at my video that I done before. If they set longer, it's not going to hurt it though. I usually just stick them in there and just let it go and over the winter months, and then if I do need it, then I'll break into it. But we got plenty in there already made, but I got a bunch of these here, and I'll show them here in a minute, and I'm gonna do a tincture with them here after a while.
So we're back up here in the kitchen, and I brought a bunch of these pine needles in with me. Now, I had read that they used pine needle tea during the 1918 flu epidemic, and so that's how good they are for flu and cold. They are also antiviral and help with bronchitis and coughs and colds. So I'm thinking they might be good for what's going on now, maybe. And also, like I said, antiviral and the smell. You know, the smell of pine is very opening, opens you up. So that is helps too. So we're going to make a tea here. I've got me a pan with a cup of water in it. I'm going to cut up some of my pine needles in there and just get that heating up to almost a boil. And then I will turn it way down low and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Then I will add honey in there. I like to add local raw honey. That is the best for you, and helps with cold and flu also. So that's got a lot of benefit too. Now, Lee has talked about the gumballs and told that the gumballs have a certain acid in them that they use to make Tamiflu. The main ingredient in the Tamiflu is an acid that comes from the green gumballs. Now, they have to be the green gumballs before the seeds fall out. And he has a video on that and showed you cut into the green gumball. You cut into that green gumball, and there are some seeds in there, and you get them green before the seeds fall out so that you get those seeds in those green gumballs. And in pine have shikimic acid that is also a main ingredient in Tamiflu. So both of these are good for coughs, colds, flus, antiviral, all of that stuff. Now, the pine is also an antidepressant. It can help lift your mood and relieve depression, and has more vitamin C than oranges. Also fiber. Pine needles have fiber. You can also use the pine, the inner white bark of the pine can help heal wounds. Pine needles are also good for a lot of parasites too. So there you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me turn this down some. Maybe you can see me do this. I'm just going to cut these up in pieces and put in my water. And you can use the juniper. And if you use juniper, you can also use those juniper berries. And you can use firs. The Douglas fir, I've said, is the best. Supposedly, the Douglas fir is the best fir to use. Is do your own research. Find out more about it. Find out what kind grows in your area so that you get the right kinds. So do your research. That's one thing I'm going to say, that me and Lee do these foraging videos and stuff. We don't know everything at all. we don't know the Latin names for things. We only usually know the common name or even what we call it. You might call it something different sometimes. We just tell you what we call it. We don't know the Latin names or the, scientific names of things. Um, we just like to get the information out enough to you to get you interested in checking it out further. So we're not trying to be the one channel you listen to for foraging at all. Please don't. We want you to research. We want you to get interested enough to research and go out and look for it and find out your own information. So I just want to add that in there because I know a lot of times we don't, maybe we miss some information that we should have said or something like that. Or like I said, we don't know the Latin names to things. So please, we just want to get you interested in finding out and seeing what you have in your area and what it could be used for. And then please do your own research and find out more and positively identify anything that you're going to use. So I'm going to get this on the stove and I'm going to heat this up. I don't have a cold right now. We have usually just used this if we had a cough and a cold and maybe use it, through the winter time or cold season for cough or cold as an extra drink. I do lots of other things that we forage too that I use, but this is one of them we have used. But I did not know about that it helped with depression. And so I'm thinking that any time that you want a little pick me up and just uplift your spirits, this would be good. So that's what I'm fixing to do with it. And so I'm going to get that on the stove. And I'm going to get Lee to come and do his Tamiflu with the Gumballs. So we'll get him to come in here and do his part. And I'm going to set these over here. And if they get dried out, I can still maybe use them later. You could even put them in the freezer to keep them green. I don't know. Just an idea you would have to check out. So that's all I've got. We're going to get Lee to show you more about the Gumballs.
That's my gumball. I got a brick down here. I'll put it in there instead of having to cut every one of them. I just usually do this, and it will break it open real good. And then after I get it broke open like that, I will stick it in my jar. We've got some pine needles in there because it's got the same kind of acid in it. It does the same thing, so we're going to make us a multi-tincture this year. A whole lot easier doing it this way than cutting them. Whole lot easier. And I did wash them. Breaking them up as best I can. Get in there to the seeds where all that acid is. There you can see all the seeds. That's what's got all the. And right there is what I was talking about with the wings. It looks almost like a little, I don't know, almost like a little gnat fixing to fly off. That's the best time to get them, when they got the wings on. I think we used about 5 or 6 gumballs in here. It doesn't take a whole lot, just enough to be able to kind of have your jar full, kind of like with any kind of tincture. And then we're just gonna pour this in there enough to cover it up. I think it's thirsty. Right, there we go. I was going to let it kind of settle a little bit, but that there's what we do. We go all the way to the top. That way it's completely covered. You can already see it, it's turning colors. In the video, it's kind of looking like it's got gold in there. That's gold, babe. And then we're just gonna lightly put the lid on there. Basically gonna let it set on top, and we're gonna let it set for at least a couple of months anyway. And then we'll take it out and we will have some homemade Tamiflu.
Also, Lee wanted me to mention that you can use the sap of the pine tree, the resin, and also you can use the inner white bark of the pine tree. It's good for a lot of things, including wound healing. So check into that also. And Lee says that you can use the resin or the sap and make a glue. So check out all of the benefits of the pine tree and juniper and fir and all of those, and positively identify so you know you don't have one of the ones to avoid. And so thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe.